Good morning, everybody. Happy Victory Monday. Floating Head Brendan is back again to talk a little bit about injury news coming out of yesterday's game. People always are wondering about the injury stuff. People are always wondering what's going on with these players in terms of their health. So, pretty good way to start off a Monday morning by talking about what we know. And what we know right now is not that much. But going over what we have gleaned from what Carroll had to say and the way in which he said it, we can get something of an idea here. So let's start with the one significant injury from yesterday's game, Uchenna Nwosu. I know Derek Hall got hurt at one point, but I'm pretty sure he went back in. So Derek Hall is fine. So Nwosu's the one that we're worried about because he didn't come back in. Pectoral strain for Nwosu, and no word yet on the severity. So all we know is that it was enough to keep him out of that game. So anything's on the table, I think, right now. It could be something that just bothers him for a day, and then on Wednesday he's practicing again. Could be something that keeps him out for a couple months. Like, I think anything's on the table here, and they didn't really offer any indication as to which it is. So we're just going to have to wait and see. So, Nwosu, big loss. If he's not out there, if we don't have him, then that's a big deal. I don't know how we overcome that. That's going to be really, really bad. So, gonna just wait for more news. Maybe later today, if it's something that needs like scans and tests done, then we'll probably learn today. But very possible we don't really hear about this again until Wednesday when the team starts practicing again. Other than that, we're basically just dealing with stuff that happened before this game, which would pertain to a few different things. So, Metcalf, Brown, Haynes, Charbonnet. As of right now, the fair assumption is that all those guys are going to play next week. They almost played this week. It would be pretty weird if they were this close to being able to play this week and then they missed the next week as well, right? So I'm pretty sure all those guys are going to be out there against the Browns. Metcalf in particular was the definition of a game time decision. We did not declare him out until right when we had to, basically at the deadline. So that tells me that he's very close, and it would be surprising if he wasn't able to go next week. So I'm expecting those guys to be back, which is obviously going to put a lot of the offense back together. Now, one of the guys who wouldn't be back there would be Abe Lucas. And Carroll was asked about Abe Lucas, and he was non-committal, according to Corbin Smith. Corbin Smith put it that way. Non-committal on whether Abe Lucas would be back to practice this week. And you look at the way he said it, you look at his body language, I think it's very safe to say we're not going to have Abe Lucas this week, guys. So, not expecting the right tackle spot to be filled by the starter. So we're going to have Jake Curhan. We're going to have Stone Forsythe. They're going to battle it out. We're going to play whoever we feel like is the best person to play. Obviously, Curhan's a natural right tackle, but his strength is run blocking. He can't pass protect very well. Forsythe is actually a good pass protector. He can't run block at all, though. So it just kind of depends on what you value more. But I don't get the sense that Abe Lucas is going to bail us out this week, so I'm not looking at him at all. Kenny McIntosh could be back this week. It sounds like he could at the very least start practicing, which would be a step in the right direction. And look, I mean, we've already got a little bit of damage to these running backs, right? We've already got Charbonnet nicked up, and K9 will be there right along there with him if this keeps up with how much we're using him. So McIntosh coming back would be nice. I don't think he would have a big role on this team, but I do believe that he would do something. And I would rather have him than Sir Roderick Thompson Jr., right? Jason Peters also has a pretty good chance of practicing this week. I'm going to continue to say what I've always said with Jason Peters. Naturally, he's a left tackle. And if Cross is out there, we don't really need him. Playing him at right tackle is very suboptimal. I do not think he would be better than what we have at right tackle, at least not appreciably so. He's capable of playing good at guard, but by next week, we will probably be healthy at both guard spots with Damian Lewis and Phil Haynes, with Bradford also relatively healthy as a backup. So at that point, Jason Peters would just be depth, which I'm fine with. But I do think that Jason Peters being billed as some kind of savior of this offense is being overstated. I look at him more as he's going to be kicking around just in case a guard gets hurt or Cross gets hurt again, maybe, I guess. Depends on how we feel about Forsyth. But that's the information that we have about those guys. So nothing concrete, but it's Monday. You wouldn't expect to have a bunch of concrete information about injured players the day after a game when you're 6 days away from your next game. So with the information that I have in front of me, I would expect Abe Lucas to not play. And I'm not saying I expect McIntosh or Peters to play yet. Just because they can practice doesn't mean they can play. But you got to say there's some pretty decent news probably coming down the pipe, right? If we can get DK, Charbonnet, Haynes, and Brown back, that's a big deal. That's pretty solid. The only other semi-injury related thing to come out of yesterday's game was Carroll kind of stepping on the fan theory, kind of the conspiracy theory from the fans that DK didn't play yesterday because he didn't want to play or the team didn't want him to play. He's basically just making it clearly known that DK was hurt and DK could not play because he was physically unable to play, and that's all there is to it. Which, interesting for him to comment on this, right? Because I didn't hear a lot of people talking about this in this way. I didn't hear a lot of people going, oh, I'll bet DK was faking it, or I'll bet the coaches suspended DK for a game because of the penalties and they just pretended he was injured. I didn't hear that from very many people, but I guess it was enough for Carroll to actually kind of come out and comment on it. So that's interesting. There was no doubt in my mind that the injury's legit. And there's no doubt in my mind that he's been playing through injuries for the past month or so. So, yeah, there's some stuff going on there. And whatever people think of DK right now, and I think some of the things being said about him are extremely silly. You got to admit, he is a tough guy. He's tough. I don't think he's a guy who would Ben Simmons this. I don't think he's a guy who would, maybe we're going to start saying Deshaun Watson this because Watson is kind of, sort of, maybe doing something like that over there. I don't see it. So good for Carroll to say all this, but it wasn't really a thought in my head. So that's about it. That's all I have for injury stuff right now. Just gonna have to wait for more concrete information. But yeah, not bad. Could have been a lot worse. And hopefully in a week it'll be a lot better. See you guys later. Go Hawks. More videos coming later today.